Well, this is Radio Entrepreneurs, and we continue to stream stories of how people are dealing and building businesses in this economy. My name again is Jeffrey Davis. I'm the host of Radio Entrepreneurs and also CEO of Mage LLC, a management consulting firm in the Boston area. Our next guest, Sue Van Hook, founder, foundress, and CEO of MycoBuoys. Welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. Good to be here.
Well, I'm really intrigued by your boys behind you. So tell us about the business.
Okay. Well, first off, I have to say that I've been spending time with fungi for 50 years, since 1974. And I spent a lot of intimate time with them in the woods here and there and everywhere and doing my graduate work. And they have been speaking to us. They've been on the planet for almost 3 billion years, so they know quite a bit more than we do. And I see my role as an interpreter, a mushroom whisperer, to be able to listen and study them to know what properties they truly have. And one of those properties, it turns out, is buoyancy. So with that in mind, I used to watch my grandfather turn his lobster buoys, similar to the ones you see hanging there, on a lathe when I was a little girl. And they were made out of spruce or cedar. And it was a big deal. It was a craft, right? It was a real work of art. And we all contributed to help painting them and getting them ready for the water. And in working for Ecovative Design as their founding mycologist for 9 years, we experimented with all the properties of fungi, and buoyancy was the one that I wanted to pursue. And so here I am founding the company MycoBuoys 2 years ago because some interested oyster farmers wanted to get the plastics out of their gear for these filter feeding shellfish so that they weren't being filled with microplastics and then going into our tummies.
Well, I want to hear more. It's my backyard and in my background, and there are 30 oyster farms just behind my head.
Okay, where are you?
Barnstable.
Okay. Yes. So there's growing interest. I'm collaborating with another oyster farmer in Deer Isle, and she is trying to get all of the gear to be non-plastic. So they've been fabricating all kinds of things for the last 4 or 5 years. We're still not there yet, but it's good progress. And one other farmer on the island where I grew up with my grandparents in the summer, he got the plastic completely out and is using cedar crates for the oysters and then my buoys to float them. So he has shown faster growth rates. I'm not sure he's done any statistics on that, but empirically faster growth rates and healthier oysters with as a result of getting the plastic out of his oyster cages. So, we know that plastics in the ocean is a big environmental problem. The oceans are procurers of life. Every other breath we take comes from phytoplankton in the ocean, making oxygen through photosynthesis. And so we've got to really pay attention. They've been treated as a dumping ground historically. And we now know with climate change and the climate crisis that sea levels are rising, the glaciers are melting. We've got coastal erosion problems going on. And what can the fungi do to help there? So in addition to the buoys, which what's holding us back with the buoys is an environmentally friendly, compatible coating. So I know that my product will last 5 months without a coating. And that's a very short timeline for someone who's buying buoys for their fishing or lobster or mussel, clam, oyster operation, or even their kelp farms now. So I'm working with some bioplastic companies on some very promising bacterially produced bioplastics as a coating, hopefully, and that will percolate along as they are able to develop that product. And I pivoted this year to another platform that I tried a decade ago, which was rafts. So micro rafts are a 4-foot diameter hexagon platform on which you can lay out or plant freshwater marsh plants, saltwater marsh plants, or even eelgrass seedlings, and hope to restore some of the coastal wetlands that are being eroded and destroyed with these king tides, with the superstorms we're seeing up and down the coast, and with sea level rise.
Did you start the business over again, or was it a continuous process?
No, so I was teaching at Skidmore College for 18 years and read about these 2 young engineers coming out of Rensselaer Polytech Institute in 2007, called them up and said, hey, you're doing this mushroom composite material. Do you know anything about the fungi part of it? They went, no. I said, would you like some help? And so I joined with them. and brought the science into it, and worked there for 9 years on many different projects, insulation board, protective packaging. They have now gone on to focus on mushroom bacon called My Bacon, and forager leather, which is pure mushroom mycelium leather. A phenomenal discovery. The two women that worked for 9 years on an EPA grant to get the fungus to produce just its own tissue, not without the feedstock, the plant feedstock incorporated. And so I retired at that point, and was happily retired for 6 years. And then I got a phone call from a very interesting person in way down East Maine, almost to Canada, who said, "Can you come teach a workshop and teach us how to grow our own mushroom buoys for our operations?" Which I did. And we grew 9 big cylinders, and we put them out without a coating. They worked fine for 5 months to float the oyster cages. And so then we wrote a grant to the USDA, and we got the grant. And so I'm finishing up the second year of that study. We piggybacked another Nature Conservancy study on top of that, and grant study, and that will all be coming to a close the end of this year. So I'm looking next year at pivoting to the rafts. I've got another product coming in line for fishing, freshwater fishing, and at this point, I'm in need of some funding and some supporters and a team.
So you are looking for funding. In addition to the funding, how do you generate revenue?
We aren't generating revenue yet. We're still beta testing. So I have some orders coming in. Lots of people are interested. I presented at a business competition, Ocean Exchange in Florida last year, and there was a lot of interest internationally. I've got a company in England ready to scale the buoys as soon as we get the coding figured out. They're ready to run with it. So it will happen. It's just a matter of the science catching up.
Well, it's all very interesting. Are you alone in this business?
Not completely alone. I have a kitchen cabinet of women who are advisors at this point. My grant is paying for, obviously, some lab assistants to help do the actual manufacturing. We've been making about 400 buoys a year. And I'm also incorporating a lot of college and high school classes because they're very interested in the material. They love playing with it, and they love growing it and making it themselves. It's very conducive to a do-it-yourself process.
Wow. All very interesting. And as you would say, and part of your mission is to do something that's positive for the environment better than plastic. As I look out my window, I see a lot of plastic buoys around the oyster beds. So it's clearly an issue that I hadn't thought of until you brought it up to me.
Yeah. Well, we know that most of the plastics used in the fisheries, polystyrene, polyethylene, high density polyethylene, polyvinyl chloride, are all toxic, most of them carcinogenic.
Great. Sue, if someone's looking to help you learn more about the business, get involved, how do they find you?
The website is mycobuoys.com, MyCobuoys.com.
Great. And are you on LinkedIn as well?
We are on LinkedIn, both under my name, Sue Van Hook, and also MycoBuoys, and we are on Instagram as well. Both.
Great.
Yeah.
I want to wish you well. Thank you for being on Radio Entrepreneurs today. We hope you come back again and talk to us about the success and what's the next stage.
I would love to come back after we have that coding.
Great.
Yeah.
Remind everybody, this is Radio Entrepreneurs.